Welcome to Beef Chung Juniors.
I decided to play Pokemon Violet with only version exclusives, but with a few set of rules. And that means I'll be using only these Pokemon, but with one exception. However, before we get into that and the rules, I will say that this is not a nuzlocke, but a simple challenge to see how long it would take and how many attempts each battle takes to win and beat the game. And hopefully this will prepare me for when the time comes for my very first nuzlocke. Now, to get into the rules. I have to play on set mode, with quotations, because Game Freak decided to get rid of that feature for some reason. I also fail at this about once or twice, but that got fixed with some discipline and a rubber band, so didn't happen very often. I also can't terrestrialize, I can't use items in battle, but held items are okay. I'm not allowed to overlevel before each fight or the Elite Four, and I have to match the number of Pokemon that each battle has. And as the title says, I can only use Pokemon that are found in Pokemon Violet, besides Great Tusk. Even though that it's a version exclusive and its stats still aren't the best, especially without the special item, it just doesn't feel right to me for some reason, and I don't know how to explain it. But let me know in the comments if you would have used either of the paradox forms in your run. Now, with all the boring stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into the run. Now, because the first three Pokemon that I can get are technically spawned at levels that are higher than I can use, or allow me to be able to use 3 Pokemon for the first gym, I decided that it'd be better if I traded over 3 eggs for my first 3 team members, being Big Gulp the Gulpin, Danny the Mischievous, and Cannonball the Good Tauros. After leveling up a little bit, we decided to take on the very first gym, Katie, where she leads with Nimble versus Danny, and we end up trading Draining Kiss and Struggle Bug. I then swap into Cannonball to try to gain some EVs, because I feel like I might need them. Nimble goes down to Tackle after hitting 2 Struggle Bugs, and this is the first case of me not using my brain and swapping when asked. I know I could have just reset, but again, I have a very smooth brain and I just didn't want to or think about it. Either way, I ended up poisoning Tarantula because on the first turn I didn't know I had insomnia. Jesus, I'm an idiot. And we trade Assurance for Pound while Tarantula slowly dies to poison. Last up, we got the Bugterra Teddiursa, who Big Gulp just decides to poison again while I swap Cannonball to trade Tackles and Fury Swipes. With the little cute teddy bear slowly dying from poison, earning us the badge and moving on. Next to be mowed down in my path is Brassius, who leads with Petalil versus my newly caught Bagon with the Rockhead ability, named Brian, who takes Petalil out with 2 takedowns and one of them being a very lucky crit. The second Pokemon is Smoliv, who gets absolutely crushed by 2 more takedowns after bringing Brian to half HP. Finally, Brassius sends out Terragrass Sudowoodo. I have Brian do as much damage as possible and let him go down to bring out Big Gulp and set up a poison. I use Pound and take Rock Throw and let Poison chip away before swapping in Cannonball and finish the job with some tackles after taking very little damage from Trailblaze, thanks to Intimidate. The next screen might have you thinking, what am I looking at? Well, I'm a stupid head and didn't record the Iono fight, so here's a poorly made recreation of the battle. We lead with Wattrel and Hut. I swap for Ice Cube and take a quick attack, freezing the bird to death. Iono sends out Luxio, who I decide to take care of by switching into Big Gulp after taking a few bites and throwing mud on it. With just a single look, Belly Bolt kills Big Gulp and saying I can't do that, bringing in Brian to clean up with a headbutt, only for him to go down next turn to miss Magius using Hex, and Ice Cube meeting the same fate. Hut comes in next, taking 2 charge beams, using 2 bulk ups, and getting Oko with a Drain Punch, giving me the badge and getting us away from this nightmare of a section. Here's the very relatable, in my opinion, Mr. I Lost My Wallet Kofu, leading with Veluza against Cannonball. I end up swapping Cannonball out for Danny, wanting to use Icy Wind to slow Veluza down. But after bad weather timing and high damage from Aqua Cutter, I decide to just go for damage, spamming Draining Kiss till Veluza takes Danny out. Big Gulp takes hits like it's absolutely nothing and almost kills with a single body slam and weather, but needs a second body slam to take out Veluza and bring out the Abomination Wugtrio. It uses Headbutt at the beginning, dealing good damage while I use Poison Gas. It uses Headbutt again, but Big Gulp should be Big Crit because Wug almost dies in 1 hit, dying to poison at the end of the turn. Finally it was Terra Water Crabominable, taking Big Gulp out and switching in Cannonball to use its Intimidate ability while setting Bulk up, while taking weak slams and eventually taking it out with 2 double kicks and winning the badge. Next is my favorite part, only because I get to be in the wonderful presence of my beloved Larry. We end up starting off with Hut versus Komala, who gets destroyed by a single Drain Punch. Next is the Dunsparce, who somehow lived on 1 HP, having me switch out for Ice Tray, who takes a Hyper Drill, damage free, and killing the Holy Sparse, to then meet face to face with Terra Normal Staraptor. Ice Tray sets up Snow to grow its head back to take absolutely no damage to Facade. After a close knockout and some leftover recovery shenanigans, Ice Tray finally goes down after almost soloing the Staraptor, with Soul Calibur, my newly acquired Ceruledge, coming in to finish the job. Gym number 6 is Rhyme Time with Mimikyu and Bayonet versus Ice Tray and the newly evolved Brian, leading with Protect, blocking Slash, and Icy Wind, with Ice Tray setting up Amnesia. I end up swapping Brian out for Danny to ignore Slash and take minor damage from Icy Wind. I end up breaking Mimikyu's ability, with Danny taking 2 hits, going down, doing absolutely nothing, having me bring in Soul Calibur as the crowd raises Rhyme's stats from cheering. Calibur takes 2 hits, living on 2 HP, taking out Mimikyu with Shadow Claw. Houndstone comes out, while my side gets a crowd buff. I swap Soul Calibur for Brian to stay alive. Bayonet takes Rocky Helmet and Freeze Dry, while Houndstone vanishes and Rhyme gets another crowd boost. Brian protects again, but was the target for Houndstone's Phantom Force, taking damage and dying to Bayonet. Ice Tray ends up killing Bayonet with one last Freeze Dry. Now with the last 2 members of both teams coming out, Toxtricity tears into Ghost, with Houndstone vanishing again. However, Tox didn't stay as long as it wanted, because Soul Calibur just kills it in one shot. However, he also goes down the same turn to Phantom Force. Now only leaving Ice Tray versus Houndstone, and thanks to how tanky Ice Tray is, he can freeze dry the dog back to death? I'm not really sure how that would work, but we end up winning either way. Also, this gym took me 8 tries. Please consider subscribing for my suffering. Thank you so much. The game equivalent of my ex-girlfriend Tulip is next, starting with Farigiraf versus Brian. It goes for Zen Headbutt, doing okay, but Brian lands massive damage with Crunch. A second Zen Headbutt makes Brian flinch to be hit again, only living on 1 HP, while the giraffe KOs itself thanks to Rocky Helmet. The next mon is Gardevoir, who I decide to stall for a turn. I don't know why. But Brian goes down and Soul Calibur comes out, taking her down with a single Shadow Claw. The Lady Gaga bird comes out using Shadow Ball that I was way more scared of than I needed to be, to die to another single Shadow Claw. With Terra Fairy Floor just outlast oh, it's dead already. Okay, why didn't I just lead with Calibur? Finally, the last gym is Gersha, leading off with Frostmoth and the debut of Geyser the Clawitzer, with the first move coming out being Flash Cannon and Tailwind, followed by a huge Bug Buzz and a second Flash Cannon to pick up the KO on Frostmoth. Beartic comes out next, and I use Aqua Jet to get any damage out due to Tailwind and swap out for Danny, using Mystical Fire, almost dying to Icicle Crash, but getting the KO on the next turn. The Land Whale comes out third, and I really thought Danny would survive and outspeed, even with or without Tailwind, but I am obviously wrong. Hut, however, comes out using Focus Energy and living the Ice Spinner to land a critical one-hit KO Drain Punch. The last gym leader ace is Ice Terra Altaria. That could have really ruined my day if that move was a crit, but Hut lives and KOs with one last Drain Punch. Now it's Elite Four time. First up is the wonderful and please step on me, Rika, with Wishcash and Danny coming out first. Danny uses Energy Ball and lands a one-hit KO on both the Catfish along with Dugtrio. Camerupt comes out, so I swap in to bring out Geyser, but hey look, I am an idiot and I didn't bring a water type move, so I use Flash Cannon to try to get the Spadef drop, but I don't get it and Geyser falls asleep. I swap back out to Danny, ignoring Earth Power, dealing big damage with Shadow Ball and swapping to prevent sleep with Cannonball, sadly getting burned as a consequence, but still gets the KO with an Aqua Jet. Donphan comes out and does massive damage with Earthquake, so I retaliate with Raging Bull to deal as much damage as possible before going down. Danny comes out once again, KOing with Energy Ball, with Terra Ground Clodsire coming out last. But AI can't make cheese like real humans can, so the Toxic Stall fails thanks to 3 Energy Balls. The literal child of the Elite Four leads with Copper Raja against Soul Calibur, who lands a nice one-shot with Bitter Blade. Bronzong comes out, almost dying to Shadow Claw while dealing high damage back with Earthquake, and goes down next turn. Third is Corviknight, whose wings absolutely melt from Bitter Blade. Magnezone comes in and survives with Sturdy ability, ends up setting up a light screen on my physical attackers for some reason, and then promptly dies. Finally, Tinkaton goes for the legendary move Stone Edge, missing twice and gets clapped with 2 Bitter Blades. My dream husband is back and starts with Tropius, one of my favorites, using Sunny Day and Solar Beam, with Ice Tray using Freeze Dry twice for the kill. Staraptor uses Close Combat, dropping its own stats and breaking Ice Tray's face. I swap for Big Gulp to take the damage and take Staraptor out with a Sludge Bomb. Or Choreo comes in and does more damage than Big Gulp can do, so I swap for Soul Calibur. He takes a Revelation Dance, gets confused, and hurts itself twice, only to snap out of it and KO the Pep Rally bird. Altaria comes in while Soul and Ice Tray swap, taking a hit and landing a super effective Freeze Dry. She survives the flamethrower and takes the Flying Cotton Swab out. The fabulous Terraflying Flamigo is last for Larry, taking about a quarter HP with Freeze Dry before going down, bringing in Geyser for a smackdown and a very close KO, swapping in Brian, who takes a Brave Bird, living on 17 HP, with Flamigo taking itself out from recoil. Hassel is the final member, leading with Noivern versus Danny, who opens with an Icy Wind, avoids the Air Slash from Noivern, and KOs next turn with Psybeam. Haxorus comes out and I swap to Ice Tray, which was a huge mistake watching this back because of Mold Breaker. Eventually, Ice Tray dies and Danny comes back, picking up the kill with a Drain Kiss. Dragalge and Danny trade Icy Wind and Dragon Pulse, with Dragalge going down, bringing out Flapple, who really doesn't like ice and dies in one turn. With Terra Dragon Baxcalibur brushing off Psybeam, using Glaive Rush taking Danny down, and bringing out Big Gulp, who takes a Glaive Rush to set up Toxic that took me this long to get and use, with Gulp going down next turn. Soul Calibur comes out with a swift and easy win, taking Baxcalibur down with a Bitter Blade. The final test on becoming a champion is against Gita, starting with another Lady Gaga bird versus Danny with a nice Shadow Ball for a KO. King Gambit comes next along with a swap into Hut, who kills the king with one hit without a setup. Go-Go, aka my nightmare for this battle, uses 2 bulk ups and starts using Zen Headbutt, dealing massive damage to Gulp. And out of my stupidity, Danny also goes down. Brian comes out, and without Intimidate, I would have died to play rough with the miss on the first dual wing beat, but thankfully I land the second one and get the kill. She decides to send in Veluza, I swap into Big Gulp, who sadly gets frozen and dies next turn. So I send Brian back out, and after landing a crunch, he also goes down. So I decide to bring in Geyser, who gets a nice KO with Dark Pulse, along with getting a one-shot on Avalugg with a Flash Cannon. Gita sends out Terra Rock Lamora, who I thought would kill my entire team. But Geyser survives the Sludge Wave and OHKOs with Aura Sphere, with us finally becoming a champion ranked trainer. But with one more battle. After lifting the restraining order I had this entire playthrough, I'm finally battling Nemona, starting off with Geyser versus Lycanroc. Lycanroc sets up rocks while I go for Aura Sphere, taking the pupper down. Second is Palmont, with Danny coming out, taking damage from rocks and a double kick, but pulls off a Draining Kiss to heal enough to survive a second hit and pick up the KO on the next turn. Dudunsparce is third, and I swap to Hut, who takes damage from a Dragon Rush and uses Drain Punch that Dudunsparce decides to live on 1 HP again, but thankfully goes down next turn. Nope. So she shows me her Alaskan Bullworm, but thankfully she puts it away after Hut gives it a nice punch. Goodra slimes its way onto the field with Ice Tray coming in, taking some damage but retaliating with some massive amounts of its own before swapping into Geyser, who falls short of getting the KO, going down and bringing Danny out to kiss the Goodra to death. With Grass Meowscarada out last, I let Danny faint for a free swap to Soul Calibur, who takes damage from rocks and Shadow Claw, holding on and finishing the battle with a Bitter Blade. And so my quest is finally done. Is what I would be saying if there wasn't another battle that I wanted to do. Toro decides to bring out Iron Moth, opening with Fiery Dance on Big Gulp and trading back Mudshot, lowering its speed enough for Gulp to get a kill. Next is Thorns, swapping in for Hut, taking an Earthquake and Thunder Punch to get the kill with 2 Drain Punches. Third is Bundles, setting up Snow, taking a punch and tries to add more snow, but fails and dies to Trailblaze. Jugulus is fourth with Dammy coming out, but finding that HP draining is not an option action, I decide to swap into Brian. Jugulis uses 2 Dark Pulse followed by 2 Dual Wing Beats from Brian for the kill. Iron Hands come out, swapping Brian for Danny. I ignore Fake Out and land a Draining Kiss, but sadly Danny goes down to a Thunder Punch. Hut is out once again using Bulldoze and Focus Energy. Hands uses Drain Punch, so I thought it was my only chance to knock it out. I use Bulldoze again, but Hut misses the KO and goes down. I bring out Ice Tray using Ice Spinner, getting the KO for him to finally bring out the final Mon, Iron Valiant. I swap in Brian to use its ability to lower its stats before going down. Big Gulp comes in, but also dies before getting anything off. Soul Calibur comes out, taking a Psycho Cut and using Will-O-Wisp to lower Valiant's attack even more. Another Psycho Cut comes out with a retaliating Bitter Blade. This is where I look back at the footage and think, why did I do this? I swap in Ice Tray, ignoring a hit for burn damage, set up Snow to waste another turn of burn damage, to finally finish off the Iron Valiant with a single Ice Spinner, finishing the fight and leading us to the real final fight of the game, Miraidon versus Miraidon. But everyone knows how this will already end. You don't even have to Terra for this fight either. Thank you, scripted events. And so, this adventure of mine is over. On the screen, you'll end up seeing the gym leaders and Elite Four members and how long it took me to beat them, as well as my in-game time and the number of shinies that I found during this one playthrough. And I really hope you enjoyed this challenge of mine. This is my very first video and it took me about 2.5 months to get done, which is a lot longer than I'd like to admit. But if you liked it or disliked it, let me know what I can do better in the comments and I'll try to make those happen. And as I was talking about my first Nuzlocke at the beginning of the video, I'm going to be doing my very first one live right here on YouTube, and I really hope that you come check it out. So make sure you hit subscribe, because I'd really appreciate it. Hi, I just wanted to let you know that I absolutely lied to you. This is not taking place over here on YouTube. This is going to be taking place on Twitch. If you go down to the links in the description below, you'll find links to both my Twitch and my Twitter so that you can go follow them and get notified for when I go live. You can also hit the subscription button and the bell icon. I bet you haven't heard that one before. That way you can get notified when I make a community post. Like I said, just wanted to straighten everything out. I'll let the rest of this half-baked video finish up. I hope to see you there. Bye. And who knows, maybe it'll leave you just as shocked as me. Well, that's about all I have to say. Hope to see you guys in the next video, whenever that'll be. Bye!